Ernest Hemingway's The Old Man and the Sea, published in 1952, is one of his most acclaimed works and the one that secured him the Pulitzer Prize in 1953 and contributed to his Nobel Prize in Literature in 1954. It is a novella that tells the story of an aging Cuban fisherman, Santiago, and his epic battle with a giant marlin in the Gulf Stream. Though simple in plot, the story is rich in symbolism, philosophical depth, and Hemingway's signature minimalist style. Section 1. The Old Man and the Boy. The novella opens by introducing Santiago, an old fisherman who has gone 84 days without catching a fish. The local fishermen pity or mock him, except for Manolin, a young boy who used to fish with him. Though Manolin's parents have forced him to work on another boat, he remains devoted to Santiago and helps him with food and supplies. Despite his run of bad luck, Santiago remains optimistic and plans to sail far into the Gulf Stream the next day. He dreams of lions on the beaches of Africa, a symbol of his youthful strength and idealism. Analysis. The early pages establish Santiago's isolation and poverty, yet also his dignity and resilience. His relationship with Manolin provides emotional warmth and underscores themes of mentorship, legacy, and loyalty. Hemingway also builds Santiago as a Christ-like figure, humble yet noble, preparing for a spiritual test. Section 2. Going out to sea. On the 85th day, Santiago sails out before dawn, further than usual. He reflects on the sea, calling it la mar, a feminine, affectionate term, and muses on nature's beauty and rhythms. By noon, he hooks a massive marlin, but the fish is so strong it begins to tow the skiff out to sea. Santiago grips the line, enduring immense pain, and vows not to let the fish go, even if it takes days. Analysis. The battle between the old man and the fish begins not as a conquest but a contest of wills. Santiago's respect for the marlin signals Hemingway's theme of man's communion with nature, even in conflict. Santiago's stoic endurance and spiritual dialogue with the sea and its creatures echo Hemingway's code hero, one who shows grace under pressure. Section 3. The battle with the marlin, days and nights at sea. The struggle with the marlin lasts 3 days and nights. Santiago battles cramps, hunger, and fatigue but draws strength from his pride, memories, and connection to the natural world. He often reflects on Joe DiMaggio, his baseball hero who played despite a bone spur, and once remembers arm wrestling a strong man in his youth. Santiago develops a deep reverence for the marlin, calling it brother. On the third day, he manages to harpoon the fish, which is longer than the skiff itself. Tying it to the side, he sets sail home. Analysis. This section is the spiritual and physical climax of the novella. The battle is both literal and symbolic, Santiago versus the fish, but also man versus time, versus himself, versus fate. The marlin represents noble adversaries, and Santiago's respect for it shows his honor and humility. Hemingway elevates this moment into an epic quest, where victory is not in the catch, but in the dignity of struggle. Section 4. The Sharks and Defeat. As Santiago sails back, the marlin's blood attracts sharks. He kills the first with his harpoon but loses the weapon in the process. More sharks come. He fends them off with an oar, a knife, and makeshift weapons, but by nightfall, the fish is reduced to bones. Santiago returns to port with only the skeleton of the marlin. Exhausted and broken, he reaches his shack and falls into deep sleep. Analysis. The sharks represent inevitable destruction, decay, and the indifference of nature. Hemingway's theme of loss in the face of achievement is stark here. Santiago has proven his strength but cannot preserve his prize. The battle with the sharks strips away material success, leaving only spiritual victory. Section 5. Aftermath and Redemption. The next morning, villagers marvel at the marlin's skeleton, recognizing its greatness. Manolin, moved by Santiago's ordeal, pledges to fish with him again. Santiago, bruised and humble, sleeps and again dreams of lions. Analysis. Though Santiago has returned defeated in worldly terms, he earns spiritual and communal redemption. The villagers' awe and Manilin's loyalty reaffirm his worth. The final dream of lions, unchanged, signals renewed hope, echoing Hemingway's idea that courage defines success, not the outcome. Character analysis. Santiago. The protagonist is an old, impoverished fisherman, yet he possesses inner nobility. Santiago is physically worn but spiritually strong. He represents Hemingway's code hero, one who maintains grace under pressure, endurance, honor, and individual pride in the face of overwhelming odds. His journey is not just a fishing expedition. It is a spiritual trial and an affirmation of human dignity. Manilin. The boy represents hope, loyalty, and future generations. His devotion to Santiago is touching and essential to the emotional depth of the novella. Manilin's decision to return to Santiago symbolizes the passing of knowledge and the continuity of values. The marlin. The marlin is more than a fish. It is a symbol of majesty, struggle, and worthiness. Santiago views the marlin not as a prize, but as a noble opponent, turning the contest into a spiritual communion. Its destruction by sharks represents the fragility of victory and the ephemeral nature of glory. The sharks. They symbolize destructive forces, reality, or even death itself. Unlike the marlin, the sharks are base, mindless creatures. Their attack on the marlin is a metaphor for how the world erodes human accomplishments. Major themes. 1. The honor in struggle. At its core, the novella is about heroism and endurance. Santiago is not judged by whether he brings the fish back, but by how he conducts himself during the ordeal. Hemingway believed in the idea that a man can be destroyed but not defeated, and Santiago embodies this principle fully. 2. Man versus nature. The story presents a complex relationship between humanity and the natural world. Santiago respects and even loves the sea and its creatures. His battle with the marlin is not domination but mutual testing. Nature is both beautiful and cruel, and man's role is not to conquer it, but to find his place within its rhythm. 3. Isolation and companionship. Santiago is physically isolated, especially during the 3-day ordeal, but he is never spiritually alone. His internal dialogue, memories of Manilin, and respect for the fish create a rich inner life. Hemingway shows that solitude can foster self-discovery, but also that human connection, seen in Manilin, is essential for healing. 4. The illusion and reality of success. Santiago returns with only a skeleton, his external triumph is erased, yet he is internally victorious. Hemingway critiques material definitions of success, offering instead a vision of heroism rooted in resilience, not reward. 5. Religion and symbolism. Santiago is depicted with Christ-like imagery, his suffering, wounds, and carrying of the mast recall Jesus carrying the cross. His endurance takes on a spiritual dimension, as though he is being tested by a higher power. Yet the novel does not preach. It offers stoic spirituality, faith in action, not prayer. Symbolism. The sea, Lamar. The sea is a feminine, living entity, representing both nurturing beauty and destructive force. Santiago's love for the sea mirrors his respect for life. The lions on the beach. Santiago dreams of lions from his youth, representing strength, vitality, and eternal hope. Even at his weakest, he clings to these dreams, signifying that the spirit can transcend the body. The marlin. The marlin represents the ideal goal or challenge, worthy of struggle. It also symbolizes beauty, strength, and the nobility of nature, reflecting Santiago's reverence. The sharks. They are symbols of destruction, greed, and the inevitability of loss. Their mindless attack contrasts with the marlin's majesty and shows how life's victories can be swiftly undone. The mast and Santiago's wounds. The mast Santiago carries home is symbolic of the cross, and his bleeding hands echo Christ's crucifixion wounds. This frames his journey as one of spiritual trial and redemption. Style and literary technique. Hemingway employs his signature iceberg theory of omission. Beneath the simple narrative lies profound philosophical and emotional depth. His prose is sparse and unadorned, with short sentences and repetition to reflect Santiago's interior monologue and natural rhythms. Dialogue is minimal. The power of the text lies in its subtext, symbolism, and mood. Hemingway's mastery of understatement turns a simple fishing story into an epic allegory of the human spirit. Hemingway's philosophy and the code hero. Santiago is perhaps the clearest embodiment of Hemingway's code hero. A man who lives by courage, honor, endurance, and humility, especially when faced with inevitable defeat. He does not cry or complain. He does what must be done, and he does it with quiet dignity. This code is rooted not in religious salvation but in self-respect and moral discipline. Santiago does not fight the marlin for wealth or recognition, but because it is his duty, his craft, and his essence. Conclusion. The Old Man and the Sea is not just a story about a man and a fish. It is a universal meditation on human dignity, perseverance, and the nature of success and defeat. Through Santiago, Hemingway presents a deeply moving portrayal of quiet heroism, where greatness lies not in triumph but in the will to continue, regardless of outcome. In its simplicity, the novella achieves mythic depth, offering readers a timeless message. To struggle with courage, to respect one's adversary, and to dream, even when all is lost, is the essence of being human.